It says
I
live.
think, yeah, it's live. It's live, but it takes a couple of minutes to get to the different channels.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I?
Huh?
Can you tag me or something? Can I put it on my Facebook?
I can actually tag you. Just hang on. Let me just go to my page.
Sure. No problem.
In un momento, por favor.
No problem.
Let's see. So, where were you telling me that you were headed to, or did you know yet?
I don't know yet. I'm thinking that it's going to be back to Florida for a little bit, and maybe the St. Pete, Tampa area.
If you go to St. Pete, let me know, because I know a beautiful sister down there at St. Pete Beach.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know some amazing people in that area as well. Of course, spent a lot of time in Florida. Therefore, I see the tag and put some on the page. Perfect. Yeah, it hasn't got super clear, although recently I started to see it. I was like, okay, I'm feeling the area, and I was feeling like maybe I would buy something there, and then of course the market's pretty crazy. So I started actually to see it. So what it does is it's like honing in. I'm looking over towards the area, and I'm seeing it, and I'm feeling like, okay, there's a reason. There's something going on that I'm supposed to be there. Kind of haven't exactly found the right area, but it feels like it's heading towards that.
There's a lot of people on the move.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on the move. There's particularly a lot of women on the move, a lot of feminine energy on the move.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's saying something in the energetic field. I mean, there's something happening. I hadn't talked to you in a while, but since, God, I think the buildup, and it wasn't just me, but I think, you know, it just kind of paralleled what was happening. But like March, some major stuff came in, like the new, I don't know how to explain it, but like almost like we were in a zombie, not a zombie state, but like, you know, kind of like in a dazed state, integrating state after the experience kind of state. And then March hit.
Yeah.
And March and April were, you know, intense. Just, it's always getting more intense. But anyway, I want to say around the middle of May, and then it kind of came in, and then end of May, it really started to set in. And June and July have just been like a roller coaster. Everybody's being pulled down to the same level. I don't care who it is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think what I've been experiencing is, of course, on a bigger level, being able to really see and be aware of, you know, the veils lifting and all the various, just like the intricacy of these grid patterns and I mean, just through, you know, dimensional fields, so much stuff, you know, happening, and how there's so much alignment taking place. And I know for me personally, I've been engaging in a lot of these codes, a lot of the geometry that is about creation, the creation process, and so on. So I'm seeing this a lot with clients, and a lot with what's happening to me personally and what's going on. And it's like this cool alignment of, you know, so many different grid patterns that what the human experience that I'm seeing is like really being able to allow for sort of the ego to find its position, so to speak, you know, you know, meaning that it you know, recognizes that it's not the one in charge, right? Based on the belief systems, and allowing the ego to kind of get excited and happy that there's something greater that is guiding and in charge. And so with that, you know, there can be this releasing of all that competition and separation and so many of those things, and really starting to, you know, see like beginnings of actual creativity, right, taking place, and that feeling of real genuine community. And this is why I think there's so many people on the move. It's like we're being taken in because, you know, those of us are, and I'm not isolating like that, but you know, individuality that has these codes that are connecting. So you step in, and then boom, you're connecting more and more. As you know, you've said it a million times, you step in, everything's about coding, right? so this is what I'm seeing, and it's just sort of like going and plugging in, and it's a beautiful thing to be experiencing, and from a personal level, I mean, despite everything that seems to be going on, I mean, I have this level of happy and feeling free, and that I don't think I've ever felt in this lifetime, it's coming forward. So,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt at all. And that's what's weird. I mean, people we've talked about on the show, you're trying to make it through. I've been told, get on, no matter what, get on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to get on. It was like 10 shows in a row. I'm like, it was brutal. But yeah, no matter what's happening, no matter what's happened, there is this underlying kind of steady, deliberate, ascending type of frequency that's just coming in a little bit more every day, a little bit more every day. And it's got me, because there's also been, people talk about 5D, 3D, they talk about it a lot of different ways, but there's been these anomalies or aberrations or glitches that occur. The synchronicities are increasing rapidly.
Yeah.
So, and if I look at the whole thing about what you're saying, it's like, I see the veil literally right in front of me, and just pull the curtains back literally to teleportation, true multidimensionality in the physical form as being a very high potential, which would include a lot of things like anti-aging, regeneration, living for hundreds of years. I mean, I don't think this is bullshit.
No,
I'm going to go this direction on a personal level because I don't see where there's any limitation. The only thing is we're in the physical, and I think that's what this trip is about. I think being in a multidimensional state in a very physical atmosphere that's slowly becoming more of a lighter atmosphere, just as the body's going into a light body.
Yeah, 100%. And because it is about, right, it's not just ascension, it's inscension, right? Because we're embodying all of who we are. So yes, and this I personally am seeing it, right? Watching it and experiencing it within the body as well, where those connections on those very deep levels and that instantaneous regeneration is possible. And I've felt it in my physical body in ways, having been, massage therapist for many years. I had some different situations that had been in my neck or in the nervous system that I kind of at one point had given over to, dominantly right-handed, whatever going on. But as this awareness is coming in, and all of these grids and this coding, all these things that are going on, it's like those things just dissolve and they're not part of the body anymore, and many, many different levels, but just that. And I 100% know, I'd say I know that there is this rejuvenation taking place in the physical body today, but also the awareness that we have that this is what's meant to be, is really fully coming in. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what I'm feeling too, and it's the connection with Gaia, right? It's that full recognition that we are, our body is the body of the earth, too, and that this regeneration that's going on, that's kind of happened, a lot of it from all this sort of nefarious idea of what took place with the COVID, right? But what's really
it's been a real catalyst. It's been a real catalyst.
Yeah, which is really beautiful, right? So it's this beautiful thing that's going on, and so as that's shifting and clearing, and so on, we're clearing, and as we clear, we're clearing that, and vice versa, and it's it's like it really is. People talk about this a lot, and they say, like everything's source, right? So even the dark and the light and all that. So it's kind of like, what would be the purpose? And what I feel and what I'm getting is what we're talking about. It's like the purpose is to have the experience that this was meant to be, which is, the heaven on earth, allowing to have the greatest, creative ability in physicality with, pure source consciousness. And that's the idea of the body. We're not meant to be sick, we're meant to be happy and fun. And So we're feeling this. That's why it's kind of odd, isn't it? It's like you don't necessarily see it in the world, but because this is all coming in, and you know, you're feeling that excitement, you're feeling that, and of course, as we know, that's what's planting the seeds to create it, because we're creating it, right? And
yeah.
But it is, yeah, for the you know, linear mind, it can go, well, this is odd, but you know, that's
yeah, and yes, I mean it's coming online in a way that we can't even really explain it.
exactly.
I don't care who you are, you can't really explain it, and there's so many different explanations, and they're all good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Estes is coming on tomorrow. He put up a post yesterday. He speaks a certain way, and he always has. It's kind of from a technical standpoint, but if you look at the energy of it, I thought it really captured it. And what he talked about was I forget what the term he uses, but basically what he's saying is that most all of our lives until recently, we've had one choice point a month. And I hope I don't get this wrong. I'm just trying to give it a generalization. But we always had one choice point a month where we could make a massive leap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's about to go. It's been coming up, and it's gotten to the point where it's 5 times a day, like this week.
Yeah.
And it's going to get to top out at 8 times a day. And when I read it, I was like, you know, I couldn't really understand the words, but I understood the meaning that this is the frequency of change. Really, this is the reduction of linear time in respect to, let's say, like instant manifestation, because that's one thing in dimension that we have.
Yeah.
And telepathy seems to be linked to that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like no matter what, and I love everybody sharing their experience, because that's really as close as you can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then just comparing notes and feeling the energy and exchanging the code. But I really think that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That regardless of what our views are, whatever, this thing is moving into, like, you know, 5th gear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
About in a car, if it's a car, you're like hitting about 175 miles an hour. and it's just like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The wheels drop off, and it's a spaceship.
Exactly. We're flying. Yeah, no, I can totally relate to. I mean, I don't know exactly the, you know, 1, 5, 8 aspect that you're talking about, but I do feel that, yeah, there's this huge acceleration, and you know, I was thinking about this too, which is why it's not just fun. I mean, I think it's fun, and I enjoy, of course, all the views and all the information, everything that comes forward, but I was kind of looking at that kind of as a download a little bit before we came on, and you know, having that recognition that how important that is, because of the intricacy, like, you know, the average human, is to say, we you know, we think we're a body and we've got this mind and all this kind of stuff that goes on, but we don't understand, you know, what the energetics, what the geometry, what the technology aspect of what this really, really looks like, unless you really look at it. Because it's so, I mean, you're talking about millions of years, light years in the distance of, you know, of codes and information that's coming here, that's here, and things that we're connected to. There's so many layers. And so, you know, but what it's breaking down to is the human psyche, you know, so sort of the day-to-day life, what all this idea of these either disconnecting aspects of these grid patterns and codes and all that, or connecting it basically in the day-to-day, is that more simplistic awareness, like, is my mind functioning? How do I feel? Am I able to, you know my sense of direction? Am I able to know who I am? And so these are the things going on. But to, you know, this is why so many people in their lives are struggling with this, saying, I listen to all these people, and I go to so many people, but I just can't get it. I'm not there yet. And I say, that's okay. It's because there's just, so many different grip patterns and so on. And as we continue to surrender, right, we continue to let go, we continue to be in that 0 point present moment awareness, no judgment, just let it go. Then it's like these things that we think that we've heard a million times, suddenly you go, oh my gosh, wait, right? And it's like, right? It's like that aha, like, wow, okay, that just took on a whole other meaning, right?
Yeah.
That's why there's so much of this. That's why, and that's the thing to recognize. That's why you're being called. Come on, Todd, come on, every show, keep going. Because, there is a momentum there's a lot going on. We are in great service, right? This is our agreement. We came for service to humanity. So we have, we're showing up. But this is what's happening. This is that next sort of level, right? Of that coding is to keep, each one of us is bringing like a little bit more clarity of those connectedness, those lines. And it's important because on the other side, there's an attempt to keep that interference there, right? And there's no fight or anything like that, but that's why there's this keep showing up, because I'm getting that a lot too. Like, you got to do this here, go there, right? No, I totally.
Well, there seems to be, some people say, for instance, in let's just say a certain metaphoric explanation, okay, that the ego was an implant to collaborate or work in sync with the inverted, or let's say distorted matrix. But I think there's always been this internal GPS, right?
Yeah.
And if you look back at the last 10 years or so, people have done a lot of crazy stuff, people in these communities, which is all the stories are very similar, downloading certain things, certain gifts and abilities coming out of that, service, alienation from family, moves, relationships, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But now it feels like the payoff, and really, you brought it up first, but really to me, it like basically started last March with quarantine, with COVID, and then everything that came with it.
Yeah.
And I've been saying, or thinking about, God, think of all the energy, forget the physical and the literal and the linear, but all the energy when most of the populace, or a significant amount, you're talking about momentum. So you can imagine in the energetic field, this momentum of self-introspection through a lot of 2020. And, people say, well, they were alone, they were in quarantine, and thinking about things in their own experience and those great epiphanies that come with the shadows. But there was also the influence of what was being suggested, by the things that came as consequences of COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
And so that weighs on you, because you're looking at it going, man, this is getting a little ridiculous. Like, this is past conspiracies and cover-ups. This is like a cartoon, and I just grew up or something, and I just figured out. It's like when you're a teenager and you figure out that your parents can't kill you. And you take that break to freedom, and you start to really kind of rebel and stuff. It's that type of energy.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, because as you're saying that, I was getting this awareness about this idea that the ego was an implant. And now I'll just bring you what I have that just came forward. But I was looking at it, and, because I see, and everything's sort of energy and frequency for me. So as I'm looking at it, it's like, a ball of it's perfect ball, and it looks more dense. And so what that was showing to me is that the idea of sort of this implant is the recognition that there is a infusion, basically, of fear energy, fear frequency in the beginning of us coming in. And it's really more like, what I'm hearing is, it's more like a hijack of what we consider as the ego, right? And that's what has been shifting, right? Is that portion, because this collective is very smart, right? That doesn't have the highest and best for humanity, and knows so much, right? So going on. So there's been this multi-layered, way to have us not recognize that we're God, and that we have the creator ability. So when you're looking at this in the kind of reversal of the reversed matrix, right? We're reversing it, so to speak, to come into that 0 point and that full awareness that we are God in physical form. We're embodying that, doing that. In order to get to that, like, we're coming down to that place where there is that recognition of that, okay, so I'm my higher self, I'm speaking to my ego, but there is still a separation between the ego and the higher self, which is this energy, right? And that whole thing you talked about, like with COVID, where you suddenly go, wait, and then that image, right, of like, my parents can't kill me. That's that sudden breakthrough on that level of like, wow, this is limited belief, basically. Limited belief, right? And once that takes place, which is what I think is happening more and more now, that's when there's this sudden awareness, because the ego is like, from my awareness, is an aspect. We're still God, right? So we're still God consciousness with the physical body. So when there's the clarity with what we're referring to, what I'm referring to as the ego, which is basically just that, it's almost like a step down. If you look at kind of like, your God self, if you imagine it sort of stepping down, not separating, not lowering, but kind of, I don't know how to describe that, but a little bit of a stepping down, we'll just say, not really in frequency, it's hard to describe that. But if there were another presence of that wasn't as aware, but is still fully God presence, that's the ego, right? And that's the embodiment that has started the game, And so once that, which is what's happening now, recognizes that self as God and lets go and gets happy and curious, then the sort of other layers, the higher self, the so and so on. And this is what's coming in now, which is like, oh wow, then it's like, this is fun.
Yeah.
This is, we're just having a good time here.
I see it like, they talk about the silver cord, and I see it like, okay, so we're, for, description purposes, we're up there. We come down in this avatar, in this, which is all, it's all God. It's all God substance. Yeah. So, the explanations and the differences. What does it say in the sacred book? And the something about when the Bible starts, something about the word,
the word.
Okay. Yeah. So that's like our creative, that's like the initiator. But I don't know. I see like we have this umbilical cord, and it's always there, and then all the stuff is created. Yeah. To me, another way to look at it is the ego. It's like a rubber band, and you have the soul and the ego's pulled for the experience, right? That's the polarity, and in essence, because everything's basically integration, right? What is the soul and the ego polarity? Well, it's close enough polarity for me to think about, hey, what would this look like in the 0 point field? The ego doesn't go away. Yeah. At some level of perspective, it could be separated, but we know how far this goes. It goes to one. Yeah. So everything is a God substance. So yeah, I dig what you're saying. And maybe what you describe is nothing more than what we've created that's become what we call the ego, and as it's being transformed into a higher bandwidth of experience, which we might call light, for the soul to play in. Well, I think that the way that I'm seeing it is like that God spark essence that has always stayed in the physicality is what we're calling the ego.
And that is what got confused at a certain point, not with everyone. And that's why there's certain beings like, Yeshua or, Buddha, or these different beings that may have stayed in this kind of idea of enlightenment state, whatever you want to call it. But that's the way I'm seeing it like now. It's like looking at that and saying, our God presence came in, and this idea of sort of stepping down is really just a frequency range of being in physicality versus not physicality. So it's more about the dimensional aspects, but it's still all God consciousness, right? So this is what we're stepping into, which is, I think, why possibly less and less will be the ego will not really exist in the sense of what we have been identifying it as we continue to do this ascension process of embodying who we are, because the greater us is then engaging, right, in full awareness. That's what's happening more and more and more,
Yeah.
But I do think that aspects of that are, that really childlike fun, I would say, is that ego that we're gonna,
Well, it's already happening, and I like what you said too. Like, the ego is not going to be what it was. Well,
yeah.
Us talking right now,
Yeah.
there's a transitioning ego voice involved with the rest of our multidimensional voices becoming one voice. Let's just say, but that it's not going to be what it was. That goes for everything.
Exactly.
Every single thing
exactly.
is not going to be the same, and I think that's really what you said at the beginning of the show. Getting used to it.
Yeah.
Like, it feels weird. It feels, I mean, a few weeks ago it knocked us on our asses.
Yeah.
Like, and there's been days in the last 10 days.
Yeah.
I think there was a 2 or 3 day period where every time I pulled up the Facebook feed, which was probably twice a day, there were these shots of the Schumann resonance. Mm-hmm. And the white just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. I mean, there's been dates and gateways and eclipses. And we're talking about a period of 2 months now? Going back to, wait, the eclipse was, I know the first one was end of May. Yeah. Right. So it's been 6-7 weeks of just some real kind of level in the playing field type of thing. I mean, because it's got a lot of people that I've talked to, really everybody, the personal impact of the energy of the last few weeks has dramatically affected communication, how we communicate, how we connect, how we relate. And it's taken an it's having another immediate impact on how we're headed to, or the direction we're headed, to the trajectory of how we live. Like, in other words, no ownership, no space, ability to move freely, way beyond what we think, like jumping on a plane. I mean, there's this whole potential of dimensional realities that are being made applicable here.
Yeah, and I love that. And there's this kind of funny, because I like a lot of people, have worked a lot with grids and a lot of the grid systems of the Earth, and so this is why I'd say I've been on my geographical pilgrimage, which we talked about before. Everybody kind of moving around. I still feel that, and of course my just human desire is wanting to really travel around and all that, and so. I'm thinking about that, and I'm manifesting, and it was funny because, like the Arcturians stepped in and they're like, well, we could just take you on a ship, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool, like, and that was like a real, possibility of things, of how I think, I don't know what, if there needs to be incremental steps of how things may be occurring or whatever, but what I keep getting is to just be in that real childlike excitement, exploration, and open up to what you do desire and connect. And it's so interesting because you can, at least for me, I've stepped into deeper too, of just like another that aha awareness deeper of like Gaia, where really speaking to Gaia, having this genuine awareness, like, I am, connected with her body. I am one with her. Why not ask her take me around, you know, to show, to figure out, you know, a way to do that. And as I've been doing that, it's like, wow, the levels of consciousness that communicate and the different ways in which things are showing up. And, you know, even just, you know, humans will come forward and say different things, but I mean, the galactic connections, the so on, it's really fun, right? And these are things, you know, I mean, I've been doing this kind of thing 30 years or so, and not obviously this degree, but all kinds of awareness. But yes, to your point and what you said about, especially this year, and of course, since COVID and all that, wow, exponential awareness. And, you know, and I'm sure you as well, having been, you know, involved with this for many years, and then realize what has come in, you know, it's like literally, yeah, like, okay, here's the veil, shoot, wow, look at all this, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you know.
You know, and it's these, all the effects in the dynamics of each aspect of what has been our experience. And so you have this expanding field of the aspects that you're aware of in your experience expanding, and at the same time, everything's coming in faster.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the things that I've gotten to, and I think it's been pretty loud, I mean, it's obviously been the baseline of our programming, victim consciousness. Mm-hmm. But over the last, I don't know, I can't even explain, but certainly really intensely, you know, chewing me up and spitting me out, victim consciousness, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I mean that in myself. And what I mean is, like, I realize that any situation I look at, no matter how little or how much it charges me, mm-hmm. knowingly or not, is always going to end up with me. Yeah. And if I'm considering myself a victim or someone else a victim, I'm in victim consciousness, and victim consciousness cannot even exist in this expanding reality, because it's broadening rapidly. It's becoming what it is, limitless. I mean, it's just the field just keeps opening as people keep sharing, like you were talking about, and bringing their little morsel of unique code that can only be brought in through their own soul signature. So you got this colossal thing, and it's almost like, to me, first half, second half. Mm-hmm. Like up until sometime in maybe it was last year when this all started in March, and we started to feel it this March. Yeah. But like the whole thing, just everything is just totally different. It is a lot of people. There are a lot of people coming online. Yeah. And either that or coming out, or both. And that's proof.
Or coming out. What did you say? Or coming out?
Just coming out, like saying, like last night, we had one of those moments, Morgan and I, mm-hmm. and we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, oh, we got to go on. Mm-hmm. We didn't know why or anything. So a couple hours later we go on and we just started talking about what we've been experiencing, just like we're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, long story short, these two beautiful sisters came on. We never knew them, and they both were just telling their experience. And in the energy pattern of their experience was Morgan's experience, and was a bunch of women in the audience, based on their comments, was their experience. Yeah. And it was a powerful thing, and that's probably the best I could do to explain it. But what I would say is I got activated big time. There was a tremendous amount of code in it. And so the coming out being maybe in the physical representation, not 100%, but, you know, these women stepping up, which is really a representation of the feminine energy that's been suppressed, which is going to mostly show up in a female incarnate, because we're energy embodied, right? You know, but that was just such a powerful thing. I saw some of it at Soulogy Fest. Yeah. I just think I've known probably 8 or 9 women. We made a list, Morgan and I, a couple of nights ago. We were just talking like, wow, that one. They're all just picking up and moving. Yeah. Like literally just picking up their stuff and moving. And so there's all kinds of factors, even like from a higher perspective, as we gain awareness of how full this life is, maybe we're taking certain positions on the grid. Oh, yeah. To geometrically light up the new, I mean, there's just so many possibilities.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's pretty incredible what's really coming forward, and how all of humanity seems to be at some level of awakening, whether they even recognize it or not. It just feels like that there's so much that's shifting, so much that's going on right now, which is pretty incredible, pretty amazing.
So what kind of connections are you having, communions are you having in this new ever-expanding climate of galactic, angelic, mysterious energy that's just bombarding the earth field?
Yeah,
it's probably the inverse as well. It's probably us exploding outward as much as it's exploding inward.
Yeah. Well, gosh, for me personally, it's been massive. I mean, light language aspects coming through, tremendous sound, a lot of different types of sound, in full recognition of that the sound is consciousness. It's all consciousness. So it's like an awareness that I have, my own kind of soul signature sound that's been really engaging and coming forward. But for me personally, it's like this huge awareness of caring or recognition of creation codes and beyond this universal complex and beyond. And so connecting to realms of consciousness that are beyond, and just having, like the consciousness of matter itself, or the consciousness of like movement, and because there's just so many different types of consciousnesses that are coming in, and so there's this. They're engaging with me, I guess. I'm not like in my little me doing it like that. It's more in that surrender. What I found is everything we're talking about. It's like once, for me, what it felt like was like this big, where I'm going along. I've got awareness. I'm definitely aware that I've got these frequencies, these things are going on, and it sort of was kind of inching, and then it was like something just, I don't know, I guess the easiest way is sort of poked me. Almost feels like that, like you something just sort of pokes you, and then with that is this kind of energy expansion, and sound started to come through. And it's funny because I know you had Brooklyn on not long ago. It's a great friend of mine, and she was just talking about that, about how her origination of light language was, in a car, where she suddenly is getting this desire to speak and do something. And that's happened to me. It's like I was in the car and I just felt this, I don't know, it was like this sound wanted to come out, and it gets real loud, and it was like this huge expansion. And once that happened, like I wasn't even aware exactly what happened until I sort of experienced it later. Because one of the things that I'm realizing about myself is that I get knowing, but my nemesis is to be okay with not knowing, and then I know. Because if I push it, then I don't know. So I have these things happen. So here I'm in the car, and I'm like, screaming out this thing, and I felt everything shifting, vibrating. I didn't even know to the degree. But when I understood that later, it was like, like a plug almost here, and then all these grids, everything just opened. And I just had this huge awareness. Now, I couldn't have told you everything of what all that meant. I'm sure I could have some other level, but that's what's been really coming forward and looking at and working with. So like I've been doing this, I had this 15-week course that I downloaded, and it's embodying universal consciousness and principles. And these like incredible things about how the synergy of the connectedness of our physical body to all the elements and all that. And of course we know these things, but looking at the actual geometries of these things, and and bringing those into levels of synergy. These are the types of things that are showing up. And of course it makes sense, right? Because it's everything we're talking about, which is just aligning, and it's aligning the greatest possibility for you to have your highest timeline. It's because it's not like, there's this sense of oneness. It doesn't mean that, but there is a geometric connection that creates, we'll say, the greatest synergy of like you with the earth, the elements, and just so many different things. And this is what has been able to come through the veils and is reestablishing, right, within humanity. And so for me personally, that's what I've been engaging in. It's like I had this, it's not like a linear awareness, but it's an awareness that this is what is moving with me, as me, whatever,
Yeah, I can relate to that, because it's like you said, it's like, there's a part of you that just knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not, okay, it's more than the way it sounds, but there's a part of you that knows.
Yeah.
But there's this recipe.
Yes.
To come out on the other side of the equal sign, which is that you don't know.
Exactly.
So it's like, when I think I know,
exactly,
I don't. Something gets blocked.
Yeah.
When I say, and you can't fake it, I just don't know.
Yes.
I don't know anything. Then something happens, and you come out on the other side of the equal sign, and it's like, okay, how did that happen? And how can I sustain that? And how can I build on that? But I think that whole part of it is that knowing that there's something bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
That's in charge. So it's like, it's going to be all right. It's almost like waking up. I mean, this is so overused, but it's almost like you get to a point where you just go, hey, it's all right. Nothing's going to happen here. The shoe's not going to drop. And that energy's slowly moving in. So many things that are standards in our lives, like, forgiveness or lack thereof, or loyalty, or just all the, even aging, even physical things, emotional things, mental things that are constructs of the old paradigm. They don't even exist where we're going. So can you imagine, like, removing all those Band-Aids in one day? I mean, it'd be impossible. We'd fry.
Exactly. Well, and I think what's going on is what we were talking about before, is like that, whatever we'll call influence on this idea that we refer to as the ego, which I say is like the God spark that's always been in the human body. I think that's how that keeps being disengaged, is through that idea that we don't know anything. And I think that's why, that it occurs. That's my experience. It's like,
I think that's a great description. It's like the ego's like,
you're like, huh?
You'll hit the state of, I don't know. And then magic appears, and then the ego comes in and goes, yeah, I do. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
I know what's going on.
Yeah.
No,
well, I think that, and think about it, but just feel that energy, right? When we can truly feel that and go, well, I don't know, and then suddenly the knowing, if at that point we can really feel it, there's this joy, right? Because there's that energy, which what's really happening is the ego is now aware that there is something else that's engaging, that has the knowledge and brought it, and it's. I don't know how in a human, maybe it would be like, like if a little kid had a parent that actually had the knowledge and was loving and was able to support that, didn't necessarily give the information to the child, but encouraged through maybe questioning or something for the child to open up that energy. And then they felt that synergy together, something like that. Yeah.
Or, just kick the child out of the bird nest. Well, I had an experience, in Morgan, unbeknownst to each other, 2 or 3 nights ago. what was that date? Anyway, the Kali, Anubis, Dark Mother was what happened a couple of nights ago. This whole, Anubis is the escort of life and death. Kali, the dark Lilith. I mean, this pure holy darkness, the cleaner, the number one. Like I think of like a mob hit, the Mr. Clean that comes and cleans up the mess afterwards, like the final stage. But there's been a lot of people talking about these deep levels of integration that have, come in many different ways. And I don't know, it's like the universe is holding our feet to the fire, saying, hey, oneness is oneness.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let me explain this to you. You can either sit down and listen, or you get what you put into it.
Yeah.
You want to resist it, you're going to get a loud response. If you want to attach, you're going to get a loud response. And if you want to judge, you're going to get a loud response. I mean, I guess it's another way of saying, kind of like a life review type of outcome, where you're seeing things through a different set of eyes, and what you're seeing that makes so much sense, and that is a catalyst, is observing yourself and realizing, oh, I still got that program. I still got that program. I still got that program. I still got that program.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. Fun. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, but everyone I've spoken to, everyone over the last year. Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, no matter what's going on, there seems to be this knowing, this reality that's just steadily expanding at a rate that we can assimilate to without it freaking out, basically, is happening.
Yeah.
And
it's a clear building and creating what we call the new earth, right? Which is, or the way that it's meant to be, is the way I always see it. And yes, it does. It's always this, you recognize, it's the self, it's the body. Yeah. So we have to just take responsibility. And so I have my, my mantra is always, I don't want to have any judgments or feel any sense of comparison, competition, separation, any of those things. And so if they inch up anywhere near me, I'm so aware of it now. And because, yes, the other thing too is that time has changed and everything's manifesting instantaneously. So you will have what you don't desire very, very fast, if you align with that. And it just, I don't know, it's starting to make more sense. It's again that
okay, back that up just a little bit. That was something that needs to be restated.
Sure.
So what you were talking about, instant manifestation.
Yes.
And then you said something, and then what came afterwards was, you're going to find what you don't want.
Yeah.
Like were you saying that if you, let me put it in a different way. If you are thinking about something and can't remove it from your, let's just say, quote unquote, collective mind, ego, mind, body, everything, then it's going to materialize. Mm-hmm. I mean,
exactly.
I think we've always thought of like instant manifestation, like being, what is it called? The secret power of it, the law of attraction. I'm not taking anything away from it, but we're at a higher level now.
Yeah.
And that law of attraction maybe didn't take into account certain polar energies. It was just like elementary school, but it is happening. Mm-hmm. And that's a really good point, because the point isn't what are your thoughts on this particular dream or fear.
Right.
It's not about that. It's about what's in your head. So if I'm thinking of it, I could be thinking of it very positively, very negatively, attachment, judgment, resistance, whatever. Yeah. In whatever light I'm holding that in, it's going to come. It's going to come 100% intact with, with the alignment or lack thereof of the whole thing that I'm holding in my head.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, it's so important to be in that pure presence and have the awareness about, and it's not that for people like to hear this and think, oh my gosh, I got to be careful about what my thoughts are because, to go into a place of fear. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that when you are at a place of, recognition of yourself, and like, if I use the example for me, it's like I've stepped the threshold of awareness. I'm in that wake up, I'm at a certain place. And so, I'm in recognition about what really competition energy is and how it's playing out. And I'm beginning to feel it. I can feel it within my body. If I hold that within that frame in my body at that point, because that's really what we're doing, then I'm going to manifest it very quickly. Yeah. Because I've been able to separate from it. Where I think the confusion is with people is they don't realize they've never separated from it, because you hear people say all the time, like, no, I really don't want that. I don't understand how to do it. But you don't understand that you've been holding it the entire time, and you've never let it go. You don't understand.
It's a construct. It's okay. So like, if you look at the patriarchal, or you could even look at the definition in the what is it, the Dead Sea Scrolls, or the Nag Hammadi, the archons. It's all about suggestion, presentation, which leads to distortion based on the creativity of that which is being projected upon, right? And so it's like what I'm seeing in myself, and this is what you're talking about to me. Part of what you're saying is this awareness. And the awareness is that if I think I know, in other words, if I try to frame this thing up and say, well, this is what's going on, this is how it works, then I'm basically the creator of this box.
Yeah.
So we're actually doing something else. And it's showing in the collective, like through what we've experienced in these communities and people's stories, but it's happening at the individual level.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing, that whole I don't know.
Yeah.
That I don't know that I don't know is like a whole level of that we've never experienced. Unconditional love.
Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got so many things going for it. So,
sorry, let me cut you off. Sorry.
No. There's a lag, but no, I was just going to say it's happening right here.
Yeah.
People are saying, I'm going to go move cross country, or I'm going to leave Hot Springs and go somewhere else, and I don't even know where yet, or whatever the case is, but I'm going.
Yeah.
These things are happening with more confidence now. And see, to me, that's a powerful energetic, infusion into the grid.
100%, because what that really is, right, is that little kid that's showing up for the first time and going, hey, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? How do I want to play, right? And it's aligning with those, instead of being in, because what's been happening in the past with this kind of stuff is that when a person actually gets to a place of presence, because we talk about 0 point a lot, so they have this idea of they're present, but what they are is they're in like a false neutrality because they're not in neutral. And what happens is they go into that panic mode, right? So they get present. Instead of having those beautiful frequencies of excitement, exploration, curiosity, joy, blah, 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 what they have is fear and oh my God, what am I going to do? So that's why when we get to that beautiful place of like, I don't know, okay, but two things. One is not just I don't know, but it's that I don't want this anymore.
Yes.
That's that wake up, right? Like, I don't desire this. I don't know what's next, but I don't desire this. Then you've actually tapped into that 0 point, that now moment, which of course you're not just, it's the all thing, right? All possibilities. And you are 100% your multidimensional self in your physical form at that moment. And if you allow yourself at that moment to continue with that, I don't know, I don't have any idea, then you're going to explore and you're actually creating. That is the actual creation process.
Yeah.
That is happening.
Yeah, I think, I mean,
right?
a lot of this is like that knowing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
even though you don't know, but that knowing, that bigger than us, you kind of know where at least the direction it's headed. Yeah. And then we're kind of like we're in between, like, how do you get there? And I think what's happened too, going back to that explanation that I didn't do very good well, because I don't know it that well, Jason's post yesterday, but what other people are saying, or what other people are experiencing, which is basically, and you spoke to it earlier, all day long, every day, these choice points where we can equalize. And as a result of that, there's a little elevation, and they come and they come and they come. So literally programs dropping away permanently. Yes. But still the vibrational loop comes around, and what was once a loop becomes a spiral, right? So what I'm trying to say is that I think before we can carry an energy of bliss and joy with no bullshit, there's got to be, I don't know, levels of being present, no matter what the situation is, because you can bring equilibrium based on the trajectory, the direction that we're headed, because that's that knowing bigger than all of us. You can creating that instant manifestation is kind of linked to the purity of intention, the balance, and all that stuff. Yes. But it's done through this boots on the ground. Yeah. Why is this being presented to me? Okay, I deal with it. Why is this one being presented to me? Boom, boom. And I think our capacity, and that's what he was speaking of or writing about, to actually process has sped up to a point that was once every 30 days, and now it's 5 times a day, soon to be 8 times a day. Yeah. Now, forget the metrics, but if you just look at the where that starts and where that ends, and the amazing exponential ascending line of that's representative of the energy I feel that's affecting all of the aspects of our lives, to include what we would consider supernatural. I mean, this is the big leagues. Yeah. This is, like, to me, like I said, it's almost like first half of the game, second half of the game, and the second half started, depending on who you are, somewhere between, who knows, last March to this last week. Yeah. But it's,
yeah, and it's beautiful, and I think that the whole thing that you're talking about is that I don't know, I just lost my whole train of thought.
It's okay, that's part of it too, the whole 3D thing.
I know what I was going to say, that it really is that place of when you have pure presence, when you have that recognition that I'm done with whatever it is, this idea that you're talking about, that you recognize that these things are playing out, they're going on. And I think that what I've recognized, or the trick to it is, because this is not what we're taught, what we're taught is have a recognition of something and immediately change it to something else. But I think that keeps you in the matrix, that's the game. So the difference in that and what we've learned to do and what's happening here, and it's making all this exponential, is that there simply is this recognition of this thing going on, okay, I'm torturing myself in fear of, I have no idea where my money's coming from, whatever. I mean, and you have this recognition of, like, okay, listen, you're talking to yourself, right? You're like, I'm torturing myself. Okay, I don't know where my money's coming from. You're right, I don't know, but I'm torturing myself over this. I don't want to torture myself anymore. I'm done with that. I don't know what's next. I'm not sure how to feel. I don't know what that's going to feel like, but I know that I don't want to feel this anymore.
Right.
And that's the step, right? Because that's that actual 0 point. And that's what we've been doing more and more, is engaging.
Well, it's the questions too. Like, it's the internal questions, like, why is this like this? Or why does this make me feel like this? Sure. And then actually staying in that space and staying in your feet, in your power, staying on your feet. Yeah. And then dealing with it. That's being present, so, like, being present. I mean, I guess another way to put it is people are being present with themselves. Yeah. And this is all or nothing proposition. If you want to, you know, we've come this far. So if you want to play this game and see where it goes, let's do it. Because why do anything less at this point? I mean, you know, we've got a pretty good idea of what's happened.
And that's the whole name of the game. What you just said there, it's being present with the self. I mean, that's what it is. You know, it is. It's getting that place, disengaging from the things that I've been engaging at, taking that full self responsibility. Yeah, why is this going on? How is this serving me? Why am I choosing this? What's, you know, going through those layers, because that's the releasing the dimensional fields, the past lives, whatever this lifetime. But then the other part of that, though, is because this is still being engaged in the collective. That means it's still going to be sort of floating around, and that's the real sort of bigger step, right? Is that, okay, this doesn't belong to me. It wants to try to engage with me, but I'm not interested in this anymore. I mean, I've gotten to the point with that, right? Right? Like, I'm not interested in fear. I'm just really not. No, not interested. You know. Yeah.
Well, it's like, and then there's this other thing too. Like, and we experience it a lot with people is embracing that which okay, let's just say someone or something presents to me an energy that I've had a lot of experience with, and I'm like, no more. And the association I have with those, you know, be it a mirror or an event or an organization or a government or a cop or whatever the case is, you know, associating that energy with that face. That face is not separate from me. That face was simply the face in the physical matter field of the energy being presented to me. So there's something about embracing everything that's taken on a new meaning, because it actually doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah.
You embrace it and you truly do that, and you can't fake it. Something happens immediately to you. There's a propulsion.
Yeah.
And if by whoever's description, I feel for myself and for my brothers and sisters, we're learning, if we're processing and learning and expanding at a pace. I don't know if it's what used to be once a month and now will be 5 times a day, or is 5 times a day, but you can definitely see the ascending vertical line of our ability to become aware, process, integrate, and expand has increased rapidly. Just by, if you even listen to like people in the last few weeks, they're like, yeah, you know, one hits, you know, you process, and it goes through it. It doesn't last very long. It's extremely intense, and then you come out of it. Another one hits. You know, it's good evidence. I mean, you're not going to get any kind of professional concurrence from anything from the system, but you know, it's there.
Well, you know, for me, all of that has had this kind of, I don't know if it's ever nth degree, right? Because, you know, we're going to be doing this, I guess, keep doing it, but it was like that you know, really embodiment awareness of being light and expanding light. So regardless of whatever is around, you know, it's like you know, we've embodied these things that we don't like. So now if we're not embodying them, but they're still around, and yes, you have, like you're talking about, the face of something has that energy, that representation. You know, what my awareness has taken me to, that I'm dialoguing to myself, is that, you know, if I'm the light, then I'm simply going to expand my light. And again, we hear that all the time, right? But it was another one of those deeper awareness about that. It's like, I'm going, instead of any kind of disengaging, because sometimes in this process, there tends to be a disengaging, you know, of your energy. And it's not, I don't think that that's really what the person desires to do, but it ends up kind of being that, like pulling away a little bit, thinking that I no longer am interested in that energy, so therefore I'll just go over here. But that, as source, right, is this whole recognition that we're all one. it's like then there's still some disengaging. So instead, it's more to just realize that I'm light. I'm just going to expand my light as I do that, because I am vibrating, because as pure consciousness, as pure source, I'm vibrating at this higher rate. So therefore, it's going to give the opportunity for those lower, denser frequencies to alchemize and kind of be there. And that isn't like a sense of responsibility, isn't like I'm doing, isn't anything, I'm not engaging, I'm not anything. But I think that's the bigger picture, right, of what's really occurring on this earth plane right now in these rapid paces and speed, whatever that we're doing, right? We're just simply, expanding our sense of self, our own God consciousness through this collective, and it in itself is sort of maintaining, we'll say, a level of frequency that is alchemizing.
Yeah. It's like, as within, without. It's like I picture like we're everything we look at, like in the night sky. Yeah. Let's say that's us, right? That's our original, the breath of creation all happened at once. So, and that's our positioning. That's our cosmic positioning. And it's like we took off and we're kind of going back, so there's all this stuff coming in that's really the foundation of the universe itself, like these true constructs, such as no space and no time. So it's like we're, again, the paradox, we're separating, yet at the same time we're separating the awareness and reality of connectivity, of oneness, is coming in louder and louder. So that changes everything. That's why there's so many challenges to conventional wisdom or conventional practices. You've got people making wholesale changes that are not going to have, let's say, old paradigm results. They're going to have what we might call 5D results. This is an energy game. These are forces of nature with a conscious intention of alignment and service and love, and the triad of self, service to self, brother, sister, and the universe. I mean, this is a powerful dimensional experience that we're just waking up to realize is a dimensional experience.
Yeah.
That for some reason we are rooted, our consciousness is rooted here. Last thing, we had an open mic about 5 days ago, and this friend of ours, she's come on a few open mics over the years, very reserved, very quiet, very full of light. Her name is Ann. I think she's from Denmark. And she's one of those real quiet ones that's been connected for years, grid work, the whole 9 yards, and coming out slowly. That's what I was talking about, coming out before. But anyway, on that show, she said, for years and years, every day it's been a multidimensional experience. Every day I'm, doing my thing. And she said, but over the last few weeks, it's all gone. And it's like, it's there, but it's gone. And it's the human, but not the human as in the little human.
Yeah.
Like you're being left alone by yourself. And the human is the point, the point energy of this, this three-pointed, force that's, basically creating this new grid.
Yeah. And as you were talking about that, I was getting this whole vision that they were describing, and how they were showing it is like, that we imagine this just a geometric shape, let's just say, and it could look even just like a wheel with spokes, the different spokes, and that they're the spokes in their perfection would be pure white, but what they've been is like, the very beginning of it maybe is a little bit dark, and then maybe 3 or 4 inches down it. So maybe the spoke's, a foot long. And so the first inch is dark, and then it's white, and then dark and white. And so it's that what's happening is that it's always been the whole, right? It's always been that perfect wheel. It's just that certain parts of the one pillar have been darkened very specifically. And what's happening now is they're not darkened anymore. And so that's really what it is. It's like this is this is this awareness, right? That it's always been here, but this is how this consciousness has convinced us, right? Is because it's basically just put the dark energy in particular places along this grid, to make like a disconnect. And that's exactly what it's been doing, right? Yeah. And now suddenly it's not. And we're just going, oh, and it's with everything. And that is the brilliance. And I'm definitely feeling that within the body, within and with everything. And that goes back to that, like, I know and I don't know. It's like that whole thing,
this is
right?
the place you come. This used to be the place where all the crazy people
I know.
together. Now it's the people that don't know. Because you don't know. You don't. It's
great.
There's something about that. It's beyond. It's beyond surrender. It's telepathy. It's, to me, it's transparency.
Absolutely transparency.
And I was talking to Morgan yesterday, and she brought up a good point. Like, do you have to go out and tell everything about you? And I thought, wow, that's interesting, because I've often thought about that over the last 10 years, because I've been shown transparency, even going back 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was being told, just to understand one thing, there'll be a day when everything you've ever done, everyone will know, and vice versa.
Sure.
So like, that was, okay, that's where we're going. But how do you get there? And I think that's a really good example, because that involves the human experience, because, no matter what we do, we wake up and go, okay, I mean, I got all my whatever, but I still got to go, carry water, chop wood, and all that stuff. Yeah. But the human going through this is where the directions and guidance is coming from now, and it's somehow or another activated or inputted as we make these choice points every day and go with it. And it's, I don't know. I mean, do the best you can. Get things into alignment, Tetris, click. And then, but you're always in this space of, like, that two people have brought up that Indiana Jones things, where Harrison Ford's going to take the steps and there's no step in front of him, and he takes a step and it appears. Yeah. It's like that, really.
Yeah.
Which, on one hand was kind of scary, but now I guess that's another way to look at what we're trying to get used to, that you talked about at the top of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one thing that you said, which is interesting, about this idea of transparency, again, the backwards thing, is that everything is already transparent, because we're one. And so there's never been ever, can't even be possibly, anything hidden. And so that's the game, right? And so you're so correct. It's like, that's why it is about the human. That's why the whole unfolding, because, and one thing I say all the time is, this is super easy and super hard. And it is easy because you just simply have this recognition that there's never been anything, hidden and whatever. But that because we have these, the illusion of the separation, then that's what seems hard. But that's when you're free, is when you go, well, I don't know, and I'm God, and everything's an experience, and okay, so who cares? And then it's like, then there's this whole different, definition of whatever you even think you've done, or whatever happened, right? And this is what's like right now,
Well, to me, the proof is in God, it's so hard to really capture anything, but like, with each true detachment, to me, the proof is every time you truly detach and you're beyond bullshitting yourself, or you've discovered the unconscious programming, anytime you truly embrace, accept, allow, acknowledge, unify, however you want to put it, with any type of anything, there's an expansion.
100%.
There's a knowing, that knowing that's bigger than us starts to expands again. And then it brings a whole bunch of new dynamics to the human. And,
because that's that putting the light in that spoke that's exponential, right? Because everything's one, right? So it's like,
Well, they shouldn't have used peel and stick to put on the spokes, because we are magicians and alchemists. Is there anything you want to do before we get out of here? Is there anything you want to talk about, or you want to do a blessing, or you want to do some light language, or you want to connect, or you want to show us your spaceship, or whatever? By the way, Cathleena, Hailley.com, boom, there it is on all the of the platforms.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, a couple of things. One is I will let you know that I am going to be participating in a live event at Camp Disclosure in August. So if anybody wants to come.
Is that in North Carolina?
That's in North Carolina. Actually, it's in Georgia. That one's going to be in Georgia.
Georgia.
And I'm also planning another live event that'll be with Kristen Balecki and Katrina Armstrong. We're planning that in October, so we'll get some more information out about that.
Now, Kristen's over here about 40 miles from here, I think.
She's she's here in Hot Springs now.
She moved to Hot Springs.
Yeah.
See, I got y'all mixed up. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember I just did a show with her. I should have known. But there's that 3D thing again. There's that 3D. 3D. That's cool.
Anyway, that's part of it. And I feel like I would like to do just a clearing of some energy here. So we're going to bring in whatever wants to come in. So let's just see what happens. All right, and play with some sounds. All right. Okay. Everybody wants to just close their eyes, take some nice deep breaths. We're going to allow for the greatest opportunity to release all that's no longer serves you in this divine 0 point. To take you outside of the space-time continuum. Just imagine, without any effort, little particles, whatever it is that is no longer serving you. You don't have to know it within your mind. Just imagine it floating right outside your body. It's instantaneous outside of this time-space continuum. Take a deep breath and simply allow. Allow for miracles to happen. You're going to begin to imagine energetic roots moving down through your legs into the crystalline core of Gaia, bringing all of this recalibration down into this now present moment. And you allow as we step into the heart, bringing in divine clarity, allowing for the pure plasmic field of pure source consciousness to enter into your water within your body, creating depths of clarity beyond all comprehension. Deep breath and allow. Come back down into the body now. Imagine those energetic roots coming through your legs, pulling this all down into this now moment, bringing all this clarity, spinning it into the heart. Beautiful. Continue to release any physicality, any physical, particularly in any of your legs. Just allow this to be released. Allow for the miracles to take place. So it is, and so it is, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep allowing. Beautiful.
You can tell you've been doing that a while. I don't just mean this incarnation.
Yeah, I think it's all coming back.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because the body, we see as physical, but even if you look at like hand movements,
Yeah,
and if you remove the solidity of the image, and you just look at energy,
yeah.
I mean, man, what are we walking into here? This is going to be like a whole new.
Exciting.
No, I was in here the other day. I think yesterday, the day before, and there seemed to be like a 48-hour period, certainly a 24-hour period where, Morgan and I had this experience unbeknownst to each other. It was the same thing. Other people talked about it that came on the show. But yeah, it was like literally I live in this house alone, and I'm walking through the house almost like you're like in a crowded nightclub, and you're having to. There was so much presence.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
But,
you can feel
cool.
tons of that. I know, it's crazy, right? Yeah. When you have the awareness, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all this here. I know. Like, oh.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool to see you.
Nice.
I'm glad you and Kristen are hooking up. That's cool.
Yeah.
There's other people. She's in Hot Springs. I saw a couple of people in the audience said they're in Hot Springs. Reach out to Cathleena.
Yeah.
CathleenaHailley.com.
Yeah.
And do you know where you're moving?
I don't know yet. I think, like I said, I think it'll probably be the Tampa St. Pete area, but not. I think I probably won't be till December. My lease ends up in December, but okay. It's going to end up there.
Oh well, there you go. And you don't know.
Don't know.
You just don't know. You just don't know. And that's another thing too. Like, I mean, anytime you think you do, it's real easy to just for me, what I do is like, okay, let's say something happens that puts you back in that state, such as a worldwide, the grid shuts down.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like where everything's brought like to the shoe dropping, but in a good way. But you know, like it, let go. All right. It's good seeing you.
Nice
Thank
seeing
you.
You too. All right.
Thank you for coming on. Wishing you the best.
Thank you. And I will let people know too that I do have an ongoing series. It's embodying the hero's gamos, and it is moving through the body systems. I've already done the first 4 body systems, which they can do as on the recording because it's all in the now time. But I'm getting ready to start next week, the second part of the series. Right. So we're going to go through all the body systems, information on Cathleena Hailley.
CathleenaHailley.com.
Yep.
Peace, power, protection, big ass love from Soulogy One.
Beautiful. All right. Take care, Todd.
Peace out. Talk to you later.